By now you've probably seen the story that Havok guitarist / frontman David Sanchez has posted, that Havok is no longer going to be supporting Megadeth on their upcoming tour, and the main reason for that is because of an unacceptable management contract that was offered to them by Mustaine Management, which is owned and operated by Dave Mustaine's son, Justis. Instead of being in a band, he's in management, so there you go, there's that. Now, almost immediately after that, the Mustaine boys started firing back, and Justis finally put his stamp on this to make this a full-fledged conundrum, a full-fledged foray, a full-fledged fracas. We need to figure out a little bit about what's going on here, and I have a feeling that even though there are some aspects here that feel like they're very cut and dry, it's anything but. So let's go over a brief timeline. See, early Wednesday, we got the first inkling of this. David Sanchez wrote a post on the official Havok page that was telling the world that they are no longer going to be supporting Megadeth, and that it was based off of a contract dispute, and that at the advisement of their lawyers that they were not allowed to speak about things any further. Also stating that he was booted from the tour, that the band was booted from the tour, not just him. So later on in the day, Mustaine fired back in a series of tweets saying that it's nobody's business about what's going on, however, that David Sanchez is a liar. These were mostly focused towards what he considers to be the tabloids of the heavy metal community. Sites like Metal Sucks, Metal Injection, you kind of know the breed. Either way, the way in which this looked made it seem like Dave was protecting his son while also maybe protecting something else. Hiding something, if you will. It seemed just like he was a little bit too, well, okay, he didn't seem like anybody aside from Dave Mustaine. That's just sort of the reality of it. Dave is not the type of guy that takes a lot of shit. He's not the type of guy that's going to sit there and want to actually feed into some of this cannon fodder. But either way, today we got our first taste of what things were all about, thanks to Justis himself. So, here's what Justis had to say. He said that I worked with Havok for 1 year, which Havok was working with Mustaine Management for a year. Despite getting Havok paid, marketed, and exposed in that time, bringing them a new merch deal, a booking agent, and overseeing what has clearly been their biggest year yet, I was compensated poorly for my work. I finally put a contract in front of them, which would secure me 15% of income, which is the industry standard. They refused to agree, so I dropped them. I wish Havok all the best in their efforts to be a professional band, but as evidenced by today's gossip mongering, they still have a long way to go. Great music, great band. There's also a photo that also shows Justis and Dave flipping the bird. Whether or not this is intended toward Havok, or a previously snapped photo that people are now taking completely out of context, it's really anybody's speculation. Now, what is a little bit further about this is the fact that there is 5 months of time from this point, well, from that point to this point, to yesterday, Wednesday, in which Havok had to supposedly sign this contract. It was on the table. There was a lot of communication breakdown, and also it has been reported, or at least suggested by the Mustaines, that Havok have not exactly been paying their bills, and that you can ask the merch people in order to really secure that concept and secure that information. Of course, you know, those of us who are not in the know or directly involved with this situation have no way of knowing that, have no real way of discovering all of those facts, so for all it is right now, it could just be supposition. So what do we have here? What's there to talk about? Are Havok a bunch of liars? Did the Mustaines present a fair deal? Or is this something that's actually flip-flopped, where he actually was dropped, Havok actually was dropped because of this contract, and the Mustaines, once again, well, it looks like there's another stain on their reputation. Let's examine this from a couple of different ways. First of all, let's look at it from a business aspect. From a business aspect, if Havok hasn't been paying their bills, either that or if Havok was, not willing to accept the deal that was presented in front of them, the Mustaines have 100% legal recourse to go ahead and drop them if they wish. If that's something that they feel is the only way in which they could work together amicably, that way everybody still also gets paid, then, well, Justis Mustaine was 100% in the right in his choice to drop them. He has that power, he has that ability, considering he's the one who is responsible for gaining them further exposure or doing whatever it is that their initial contract set out to do with Mustaine Management. Now, if this happens to be something where there's a little bit more that is not being disclosed, either that or it's proven that Havok has paid their bills and that the Mustaines are lying about those things in order to try to sensationalize the story, then that's bad press for Mustaine Management, it's bad press for Megadeth, and for Havok, well, their name is out there now, It's always been out there, but it's out there even more now, considering that's, tabloid news is the best way to get your name out there, I suppose. And either way, this becomes a huge shitstorm, which it kind of already is. Either which way that you look at it, someone is going to benefit, someone is going to lose. And really, whenever I say someone is going to benefit, the only real way that there could be any sort of benefit from this is Havok's name being spread a little bit further. However, they are still going to lose a little bit in this manner without even trying. That's the sad part about this. As we've examined with series such as the 5 Reasons People Hate series, there are a lot of fans out there that are extremely narrow-minded with what it takes in order for them to feel displeasure toward a group. There's a lot of fans out there that will use something simple, such as this, to now find ill will either toward Megadeth or maybe, and probably mostly, towards Havok. Megadeth has a large fan base, and there are a number of folks out there that feel that the Mustaines can either do no wrong, or that they're actually doing Havok a favor in this case. So Havok actually could end up gaining the reputation of being hard to work with. But that being said also, a lot of people will also praise Havok potentially as being heroes, even though this is a situation where no such thing should truly emerge. This is instead something that should be handled kind of behind the scenes, but instead it became very public. Was that something that was, done in the wrong by Havok's point, by their camp? Not really, considering if you read the initial post that was on Facebook, it was one that was actually handled relatively professionally. It was something where easily David could have descended into a bunch of supposition and gotten himself into further legal trouble. Either that or made this seem a lot worse than it actually was. The post itself is about 3 paragraphs long, and it's handled with a rather respectable tongue. He doesn't go out of his way to try to insult Dave or his son Justis. He just states that there was a contract dispute that they weren't able to settle. And it's something that really just reads as a guy trying to be as professional as possible without really lauding somebody as a pariah. Of course, this was taken completely out of context. If you look at the comments of that very same Facebook post, you'll notice a lot of hatred and slander being tossed the way of Dave and Justis Mustaine. And it really wasn't the point. The point was to attempt to try to get this resolved, or at least get this information passed along to Havok fans that were excited to see them with Megadeth in an amicable fashion. But that didn't happen. And then, of course, once the tabloids took over, Dave started to showcase just how grumpy that he could be toward them, considering, yeah, I can imagine it is annoying. I'm surprised that Corey Taylor or Kerry King or anybody else that's on, the Mount Rushmore of shut the fuck up isn't saying to these folks, listen, I've had enough microphones in my face for one lifetime. Back off. I just want to go get a refreshing cappuccino. But either way, this is a situation that feels like it just sort of exploded. And it's one that seems like it's been driven a little bit more by the supposition that sort of surrounds it. A lot of people assuming one thing or the next. Either way, whatever the situation ends up being, or whatever it ended up being, should I say, the reality of it is this. Havok will no longer be touring with Megadeth on their upcoming, run. This is instead something where Havok's going to have to find a brand new tour to jump on. Either that or maybe start one of their own. And by the sounds of things, also need to get a brand new management company. So it might be some rough times for Havok right now while they shop around. But if there's one thing that was indeed given to us that sounds like very good news within David's Facebook post, it was the fact that Havok has new material that they're going to be dropping later on this year or early 2017. So if there's anything to be excited about whenever it comes to this situation, well, maybe there's your silver lining. What do you think is actually going on here? Let me know in the comments below. My name is CoverKillerNation, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.